Hey everyone, this is Dan at SPE Motorsport. We're going to do a product installation video on the 2020 plus GT500 carbon air intakes that we offer. We're going to put our stage 2 on this, but the installation's the same for the stage 1 as well. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. Pretty simple installation, pretty quick. Pretty much anybody with a 7mm socket and a 10mm socket can pretty much do this installation. So let's dive right in. You're going to want to go ahead and unplug all your sensors and wiring harness, pull that out of the way. You'll need that later. Also back in here, coolant tube. You're going to disconnect your tube for your valve cover breather, and then the bypass for the supercharger. So nothing really comes out of this. It's basically just a vent for this canister. It really doesn't get used for anything other than that. So you're going to have a 7mm on the throttle body right here. You're going to want to loosen that up. So loosen that up, and then you got a 10mm back here in the corner by your shock tower. You want to pull this bolt completely out. And then make sure everything's kind of out of the way. You're going to pull the tube forward, pop it off, and then you're going to kind of lift it up and out this way. Maybe. There we go. Now that that's out, you're going to want to retain this grommet here. We're going to reuse this. Make sure everything's out of the way there. And go ahead and put the intake in. So what we'll actually do to start with is we have this wedge here. It's a Delrin wedge. It's actually an isolator for the box. You're going to go and there's a piece sticking out here on the bottom of it, an embossment that's going to actually go into where the old grommet went. You're just going to sit that on there like that. Now it walks in. You're going to take your grommet that I said we were going to reuse, and that's going to go on here like this. And then this is actually going to be used to clamp the box in. So we'll sit that to the side. We'll grab the box and put that in. All right, so this is a stage 2, so it's going to have the carbon box and the aluminum box. It's the same exact installation. You're going to need to install your stud. It's a 6mm nut. It's like a bullet style or round ahead Allen. The nut on there, it's actually going to be used for this here. You're going to take this and twist it up like that, and then it's going to connect there and kind of hold this coolant hose in place. So you can go ahead and just kind of sit this down in there for now, like so. And then we'll grab our clamp, put this washer in. This is kind of important because all this on the inner fender here, it's kind of leaning and that wedge picks everything up. The screw goes in at a bit of an angle. So what you're going to want to do is on this washer that we give you, take it off here, there is a, I don't know if we can see that, little arrow on it. You're going to want the arrow on the washer to not fall down in the belly pan of the car. All right, guys, so an hour later after we dropped the belly pan of the car to get out the washer that I dropped, we're back into where we were. So don't drop this. It is aluminum. It's not magnetic, so you can't even grab it with a magnet. It's stupid, right? So I'll go ahead and show you one more time. There's an arrow on the washer pointing towards the back of the car. That's the way it needs to point. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the clamp on. So this is the clamp here, and that's obviously where you're going to put your rubber piece back on. Slide the box up, kind of drop that down in there. And then we'll put our bolt in with the washer pointed towards the rear of the car. So when you're tightening it down, just make sure it's oriented that way. It's going to want to spin until you get it tight. But before you snug it, you know, just make sure that it's pointed in the right direction. And then the other thing you want to do too when you're tightening this down is right now, don't make it too tight because you want to be able to move it. So you can see here, that's the adjustment that you get in the box. So if the motor mounts, you know, whenever they bolted this engine in, if it's moved a little one way or the other, you know, that can cause like the filter to rub the box, or that can cause the tube to rub the front of the box, whatever, just because the motor shifted. So you're able to actually kind of adjust for that with the box placement. So leave that kind of snug for now, and then we'll come back to it once we get the tube and everything in. So you're going to want to remove your IAT sensor from your factory box. There's a little tab there. You're going to want to basically just reach in and pry that tab up, kind of like that, and then just twist it, pull it out. You're going to want to remove the O-ring off the end of it. So we've already done that. So just take the O-ring off. All right, so now you're going to want to install the sensor in the tube. Put a little bit of oil on your finger. Put a little lube inside the grommet there. And then take your sensor, just install it in. You're going to want to twist it. It is a tight fit. Once you get it in, you'll feel it kind of pop in. You're going to want to rest that tab kind of flat against the outside of the grommet there. So, and then I like to keep the element facing the air. Obviously, you're going to get a better reading that way. So, dropping the tube in, you can either put the silicone coupler on the throttle body first, or you can put it on the tube first. It's just personal preference, whatever you want to do. Go ahead and plug your sensor in. And then you're going to want to route this kind of below the coolant line here and just let that kind of hang down like that. You're going to want to push it on the throttle body. And then we'll just snug it up a little bit. You're not going to want to completely tighten it. Just want to snug it up. Because we just want to make sure everything's kind of lined up good before we go cranking everything down. And if it's too tight, you can't move anything. So this way, if you need to adjust the tube, you can. Same as with the box. So go ahead and slide your filter clamp on the tube. Just be careful. You don't want to scratch anything. It just makes it easier to get the filter on, because the filter, once again, is kind of a tight fit. It's a stiffer rubber, so it's going to want to flex out when you go to shove it on here. And if you have the clamp on there too, it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult to get on. So kind of support the tube and then just twist the filter and it'll pop right on there. And then as far as setting everything up, you're going to kind of want to make it so that the tube is flush with the throttle body and everything's kind of buried in the coupler. The coupler is the proper length to give you the gap that you need up here between the radiator shroud and the carbon tube itself. And then you're going to want to take the filter and kind of just sit it against the box edge. So make sure you got a nice ample clearance everywhere around everything before you start tightening everything up. So go ahead and we put this line here on the box. The coolant line back here goes on this stud. So I'll go ahead and just sit that on there like that. That'll hold the coolant line up where you need it. And then we'll go ahead and put all the other connections on here. Like that. And then we'll make sure we got everything adjusted right, and we'll start tightening everything up. Another thing I suggest doing is on the box clamp back here, don't get carried away with this. You know, you don't need this to be extremely tight. Make sure your arrow is pointed towards the back of the car like it is. And we'll go ahead and tighten this down. All right, so go ahead and tighten our filter clamp up here. Then I do recommend doing, like, if you want to snug it up with the power tool or a gun or something, go ahead and do that. But I do recommend kind of going over everything by hand, because obviously clamps are kind of easy to strip out, and obviously they're very small bolts that we're dealing with, so better do everything by hand once you get it all kind of in place. Like I said, for the box bolt, you don't want to go too crazy with it. Just snug it up. So, you know, once you start feeling a decent amount of tension on that, you're good. I mean, it's nice and solid. So, but that pretty much sums it up. That is this is technically the stage 2 setup. And that covers the installation of it. So we're going to go ahead and kind of show you the process of putting the track tube on. So if you're at the track, or you know, just want to know how to put it on, we'll give you an idea how long that takes. It's pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and just take this filter back off. And then what you'll do is you'll just leave the clamp on the intake and go ahead and pull the filter off once you get to the track. All right, guys, now that you got the filter removed, you can grab the track tube, slide the filter clamp back, and obviously you're going to have another clamp that comes with the track tube and the coupler. And keep this pushed back here, drop this in. Be careful. I mean, it is a tight fit. The tube is quite large. You may have to push around on the box a little bit, you know, to get it to drop down in. And then once you get it in like that, you'll see it'll drop in nice. And then you'll just line the coupler up and just slide it back onto the intake. All right, so once you get it dropped down in here, you can go and just pick it up like that. Slide the coupler onto the intake, like so. And then you throw your 2 clamps on and you're ready to go. So the cool thing about this setup is obviously you can change it out the track relatively quick, and it also utilizes a lot of the major parts of the front of the car to get airflow into your intake track. So you're utilizing the grill. So the angle and the opening of the track tube is actually large enough that it'll utilize the grill and any other inlets from under the hood. So you have stuff coming in all through here and through other areas of your wheel well and everything. So you're not restricted down to just the volume of the grill inlet. So it's kind of a nice feature. Obviously, it's best case scenario at the track. You're funneling the best possible air from the front of the car right into the engine. So there you have it. So this is the stage 2 with the track tube installed. And then the only difference between this setup and the stage 1 and the stage 2, the only difference from what we just put on here is the stage 1 comes with an aluminum shield / box. And the stage 1 also does not come with the track tube. We do sell the track tube separately. So if you want to get the track tube at like a later date and you had already bought a stage 1 with the aluminum shroud, you can do that. So, but that's pretty much it. That wraps it up. And if you have any questions on installing this, you can give us a call. You can email us. We're always happy to help in any way that we can. If you have any questions on the product, same thing. Give us a call. We'll help you out. And we'll catch you on the next one.